Morning, everybody. So I recently came across this comparison of characteristics or traits of success. Motivation versus discipline, or discipline versus motivation. You know, one of the traps you fall into as you reach higher and higher levels of success is your motivation. Your motivation starts to dwindle. You know, when you had no money and you had a lot of debt and bills to pay, you're highly motivated to be extremely productive. But over the years, as you are generating and building wealth, you start, becoming less and less motivated, to the point where it's like, I don't even feel like driving. Why am I even out here? Why am I doing this? I could be doing something else. So the motivation really comes down significantly, maybe by as much as half. By the time you've been driving 10 years as owner operator, you're not nearly as motivated as you were when you first started out. When I look at guys like Richard, he's highly motivated, but this is only his first full year being an owner operator. Wait until he's been an owner operator for 10 years, see how motivated he is. But what drives success forward when you're not motivated, or you're not as motivated? And this is where the distinction comes in between discipline and motivation. Motivation is, I don't feel like doing my pre-trip every single day. But discipline says, I'm going to do my pre-trip every single day. It's part of my routine. I do my pre-trip exactly the same way as I have from the very beginning. I check all the tires, I pop the hood, check out the engine compartment, check my oil every single day religiously. That's part of my routine, and that is the discipline that I built into my business model. It's like, why do you shave every day? You don't have to. Well, that's your discipline. That's your routine. Why do you brush your teeth? Why do you floss? You build these habits, right? This is the discipline that you use day in and day out to keep you on track. Why do you take all your vitamins and your prescriptions? You're not motivated to. Nobody likes doing that. That's the discipline aspect. And if you stick to the discipline aspect, put discipline in your business model, it doesn't matter if you're motivated or not. You're disciplined. So when we think about productivity, you're like, well, I want, at least 2,500 miles for the week. That's my goal, my target. That's discipline. It's not motivation. Motivation is you want to stay home. Put your feet up. You got money to fall back on. You're not motivated to get 3,000 miles for the week, but you may be disciplined to do that. And that's something I want you to think about in your business model, and how you reach higher and higher levels of success, because the higher you go, the less motivated you become. So how do you push yourself further? How do you push yourself to higher and higher levels? I think it's only through discipline that it's going to carry you through to the end. Because you can imagine if you got $200,000, $300,000 or more to fall back on, you're not motivated. But if you stick to your normal routine, you are disciplined, and discipline will carry you the rest of the way. Because motivation was high when you first started out. Now you're halfway, 3/4 through the journey, the motivation dwindles, but you still got a ways to go, and it's going to be discipline that's going to get you across to the finish line. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.